Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Zoning Board of Adjustment for October 5th, 2023. Please rise as we start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
We pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And as the host for your evening, please let's start by introducing ourselves. To my far left, please.
Michael Donlin, Gaspol Bimba.
And I am Lynn Perkins, the chair.
Craig Corbett, Vice Chair.
And we have Code Enforcement Officer Robert Mackey over to our far right, and our clerk, Ginny Rio, will be taking the minutes for the evening. To that point, these proceedings are audio-video recorded, and in the event of emergency, please retreat to the rear of the room and use the stairway. If you need assistance, someone would help you. And these proceedings are scheduled to terminate at 10 p.m. That being said, we are prepared for the evening. Our alternates, Mr. Donlin, Mr. Obimba, and Mr. Dietzel will be sitting for both cases, just for the record, and then I don't have to break apart and call these gentlemen individually. And that being said, we are ready to proceed with the first case, which is Ryan M. Thomas and Jennifer L. Tripp. That is case number 23-128, and I would ask those, one or both of those individuals come forward to the dais. Presumably you are not Jennifer.
I am not Jennifer. No, I am Ryan Thomas.
All right, well, we'll hope for 50-50 through the night at least. So our protocol is that we have you read your 5 criteria for the record as you've presented them to the board, and at which time, once you get through that, we'll allow you to elaborate in your own words.
Okay, awesome. Do you want me to read just my answers or your questions as well?
We ask that you introduce the idea of each 5 criteria with its title as you give your dissertation relative to that. How's
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Great. Ryan Thomas, 14 Jenny Dickey Hill Road here in Derry. I'm going to read my 5 points here. The variance will not be contrary to the public interest because the proposed addition will bring said property to a state that is complementary and in keeping with the surrounding neighborhood. 2, the spirit of the ordinance is observed because the proposed use does not alter the character of the neighborhood. 3, substantial justice is done because 14 Jenny Dickey is in a residential neighborhood, however, is presently not set up as to house a family of 4. Thus, by increasing capacity of the home, allows for a growing family to reside here. Number 4, the values of surrounding properties are not diminished because the proposed addition will not affect any sight lines to the lake for the surrounding properties and is in keeping with the residential look of the community. Please note, only encroachment is in regards to a dogleg driveway. However, it will not prevent access to their house. Number 5, the literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship. Are you okay if I skip the rest of that? Okay. The proposed use is reasonable considering all the points contained herein and considering the location of the property and surrounding properties and buildings. The proposed use is a reasonable one. The proposed use will allow for proper storage and living space for a family of 4. B, if the criteria in subparagraph A are not established on unnecessary hardship, will be deemed to exist if and only if, owing to special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area, the property cannot be reasonably used to strict conformance with the ordinance, and the variance is therefore necessary to enable a reasonable use of it. The location of the property and the proposed use and the character of the neighborhood would cause undue hardship if the variance is not approved, as this would further limit residential and family housing for us in the town of Derry.
All right, so you have an opportunity to describe to us what exactly you're doing and the why, and just keep in mind that we do terminate this meeting at 10 p.m.
Okay.
All right?
Awesome. Hopefully it won't be that long.
All right. Us too.
So just a couple quick notes. I wrote a letter. I'll just read that. It kind of touches on everything. Dear's New Hampshire Zoning Board of ZBA. My name is Ryan Thomas. I currently live at 14 Jenny Dickey Hill Road here in Derry, New Hampshire with my wife Jennifer and our 2 children. We purchased our home in May of 2013. At the time, the home was a non-winterized camp with no foundation. Working with a local contractor and obtaining proper building permits to the town of Derry, we were able to raise the camp and turn it into our year-round 851 square foot home and started our family. As time passed, we realized we need more space. We are applying for a setback variance to add an addition that will be 20 by 34. We hope to have a single-car garage under and 2 bedrooms, so each of our children will have appropriate size rooms. We plan to add 2 3/4 baths. I've attached a floor plan for your review. The addition will encroach toward my neighbor's driveway, however, will have no adverse effects regarding their views, etc. I've spoken to all abutters and they feel comfortable with my proposed plans. I have also attached letters from the direct abutters. I have never applied for a variance, and I would be more than willing to provide any additional information you may need for the variance. I think that covers most of it. I mean, we want to put the addition on, which will add 680 square feet of living. Right now, one of my kids is living in the living room, so it's a little tricky. So the new total square feet for the house will be 1,531 square feet of living space.
Yeah, 851 square feet is a tight fit, especially for a family of 4.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. What was that?
I said 851 square feet is a tight fit for a family of 4.
It's very tight, yes.
Okay. Anybody wish to lead off?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Donlin? Any thoughts, concerns?
I'm looking over, 3 feet seems kind of tight, but given the situation of this particular lot with the driveway, it's not as egregious as it seems when you are just reading it. So it seems fairly well thought out to that regard, and the neighbor doesn't seem to have an issue with it as of yet, but we will see.
Mr. Obimba?
How many bedrooms in total is this gonna have if this were to be approved and constructed?
There's existing 1-bedroom upstairs. We use the living room as a bedroom, but it's not a bedroom. And there's pretty much a closet that we use as a bedroom. So it'll be a total of 1, 2, it'll be 3 bedrooms total.
3, and you know how many parking spots you gonna have after? Is that gonna change?
The parking spaces shouldn't really change. We have the driveway kind of to the left of the house, which can fit my wife's car and my truck. But we would like to put at least 1 car in the garage to it's a small lot, and it just to kind of tuck everything in and make everything look neat.
Okay. Because I think for a 3-bedroom, if we do 1.5 vehicles a bedroom, that makes it around parking requirement of 4.5 vehicles, 4 or 5, right?
Well, there is a calculation in the land development control regs when dealing with multifamily and developing a multifamily site plan, and it is the 1.5 spaces per bedroom, but that really applies to a multifamily project. Single-family homes, there really isn't any written requirement on the parking.
No, that's what I was heading to. That will be all.
Is the property, because this is Jenny Dickey Hill Road, but the map that we're provided is Freddie's Lane and Gary Drive?
Yeah, so that's the original plot plan. It was called Freddie Drive, and I think there was another road off of it, but it's now renamed Jenny Dickey Hill.
Freddie's Lane is Jenny Dickey? Yeah, okay. And I think in the, there's another copy of the map that you provide that's mocked up, but it's showing 12 and 13. 13 is the lot that's mocked up here.
That's the lot number, yeah. So our address is 14. The lot behind me is lot 12, and my neighbor's over here. I believe he's 16 Jenny Dickey.
Okay.
On lot 14.
Say again?
On lot 14, I think, is number 16.
Yeah, so it's lot 14, not 14 Jenny Dickey Drive, right? Am I
It's-
correct there, Mr. Mackey? I didn't get too much into the deed on this, but I just want to verify why we have this discrepancy. On the map is showing 12 and 13, but I presume that's lot 12 and lot 13, not 14 Jenny Dickey Hill Road, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
got it,
Says it on this one.
got it. Okay, yeah, I couldn't read that.
Yeah,
That
it
was
says
too
lots
faint.
12 and lot 12 and 13, something, something.
Okay.
Between 12 and 13, so it's speaking to those two, but it keeps saying lot.
Okay, very good. Those are my clarifying questions, so. Anybody else? Mr. Corbett, do you have anything else?
Not on the proposal, it seems relatively straightforward. More of a curiosity on the property, Mr. Thomas. Is it this one, or is it the one behind it? One of these was it part of a train station at one point?
Yes, so my house, 14 Jenny Dickey, if you look at the back of the house, it was pretty cool when we renovated it. It's actually a ticket booth. The old tickets, Jenny Dickey Hill, used to be the Chester Railway, I believe, is what the name of it was. So when we did the excavation, we found like old railroad spikes and everything. And then when we demoed what's now our kitchen, it was the ticket booth. So there's carvings like in the posts and everything from like the 30s and 40s, I believe, if I remember correctly. But it's pretty cool.
A train person told me that one day, and I could see it in the
Yeah.
photo, so I've decided that was the truth.
Yes, yep.
But, no, that again, nothing to do with
That was
the
actually
proposal.
part of the reason we didn't tear it down.
Really?
Because we didn't want to get rid of that. It's just cool. It's a cool piece.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I have no other questions all the time. It's relatively straightforward. I don't think it could really work anywhere else. It's a tough lot.
Yeah,
Um,
Mr. Bimba?
I think a question for Mr. Markey again.
We'll go, if you can hold, let's go shoot over to, if everybody's all set, we can get staff report, Mr. Mackey, and then I'll have you follow up, Mr. Obimba.
Sure. So obviously, you see that map that talks about Freddy's Lane, and again, that was when these lots were originally subdivided, and obviously since been renumbered or renamed as Jenny Dickey Hill. And the lots themselves, if you look on the copy of today's tax map, the lot numbers are obviously different at this point. Beyond that, it's in proximity to Beaver Lake, and like a lot of the lots around Beaver Lake, they developed long before the current zoning, so the lot sizes don't generally meet the requirements, the structures don't generally meet the setbacks, and so on. So again, what they're looking to do, and I guess would be 3 feet from that side where the driveway is at its closest point, looking for a single stall garage on the first level and a couple of bedrooms above. It does fall within 250 feet. It's way up in elevation, but technically still falls within 250 feet of Beaver Lake. So were this to be approved, it would still need to go through shoreland permitting. So it was part of the building permit process, so. And you have some pictures.
Okay, Mr. Obimba, you wish to follow up?
Sure. With the encroachment for the driveway, say the two owners were to sell and the new owners came in, will there be a dispute on that encroachment?
No, not if the board gives the relief.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah, excuse me, Mr. Mackey, could you please explain again the elevation and how it affects Beaver Lake and what they need to do if we approve this? You said it was like 200 or 250 feet.
Well,
Could you please
there's-
explain that to me?
There's a state rule with regard through the Department of Environmental Services that says anything you do that disrupts the land, whether it's building a house or an addition or a retaining wall, anything like that, that falls within 250 feet of the normal high water mark of a state-controlled body of water, of which Beaver Lake is, or a fourth order stream, does require separate permitting through their agency. When they do their permitting, they don't care about local setbacks. They don't even care about whether or not it's in the floodplain. They're mostly looking at impervious area and so forth. So it's really not elevation dependent, it's distance dependent.
Distance?
But when we're dealing with FEMA regulations, floodplain, then the elevations, especially for the waterfront property, those
So-
really
So,
come into
okay,
play.
if this board votes yes on the application, they still have to go through another step because of the, okay, all right, thank you.
What's up?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sure. Okay. Anything else down on my left here, Mr. Donlin, Mr. Obimba?
All set.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Thomas?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Well, that being the case, we'll make a call to public. That being said, I think we have some different adjustments in the room this evening, but the numbers are posted for anybody who wished to call in remotely. Mr. Corbett's welcome to read those numbers for the public.
Yep, anyone who wishes to dial in, you're going to dial 646-558-8656. Your meeting ID is 323-909-140, and once you're in, you're going to press *9 to raise your hand. If you're having any technical issues, you'll dial 603-845-5585, and someone will help you.
Very good. So that being the case, anybody who wishes to speak in favor of this application, this would be your opportunity to come forward and be heard. That also applies to anybody within the room that wishes to speak favorably to this application. This would be your opportunity to do so. Mr. Thomas, anybody who might approach or might call in remotely on this, you'll have an opportunity to rebut any statements that are made. And that being the case, if I see no one rise to speak at this time, you wish to speak? Okay, Mr. Thomas, I'll have you take a step back and we'll have this individual have his say.
How are you, gentlemen? My name is Jay Mattia. I own the home behind Ryan Thomas at 16 Jenny Dickey Hill Road. I'm here in purely support. I wrote a letter previously. You should have it. I'm happy to take any questions, but the only thing that I think that was brought up that impacts me directly is setback to my driveway. Ryan had mentioned that there's a dogleg driveway, and I think what he means by that is it's there's some steepness to the right and left of it, and if anything I can think of, any impact would be positive in my regard, as that steepness would be taken care of and leveled out to my degree, and for me. So that's the only thing I can think of, positive nature. I heard you guys discuss and ask questions about the history of the building. I've been in Ryan's home a couple times. Great craftsmanship, and what he's mentioned is as it relates to sight lines and views of the lake from my property. I'm convinced that it's not going to impact me negatively at all, so I have no issues. So I'm here in support, and that's all I have for you guys.
Very good. We appreciate you showing up in person. Your letter is noted for the record, and the board does have that, and it will be entered into the file. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Matea?
No, thank you, Chair.
All right, seeing-
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Very good, thank you. Anybody else? All right. Anybody remotely out there wish to speak? Mr. Preventer, see anybody out there?
Seeing none rise, Mr. Chair.
Very good, thank you. Likewise, anybody who is opposed to this application, this will be your opportunity to rise and come forward and be heard. And likewise, if you are remote, you have that opportunity to be heard as well. And just press *9 and we'll get you into the meeting remotely. Anybody here in the room wish to speak in opposition? Seeing no one rise. And we're all set out there?
Mr. Chair, seeing none rise.
Very good, thank you. Then we'll consider that we've met all statutes regarding butter input. And if there's nothing else, Mr. Thomas, you can come back up to the dais. And does anybody else have anything else for Mr. Thomas? Any questions or concerns? Seeing no gestures there, if it pleases the board, we can take a motion to go into deliberative session.
I'll make that motion.
Very good.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Corbett, seconded by Mr. Obimba. All in favor of deliberation, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, so it is time to debate. Anybody wish to lead off?
I'll start, Mr. Chair. I think the applicant made the 5 criteria. I have no problem with this addition. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very good. And Mr. Obimba?
I think it's a straightforward request, looking at the hardship and substantial justice points. I think the property is, the way it's situated, the amount of land available, and what they're trying to do for their family. Mr. Chair, you noted 800 square feet. It's a very tight fit for a 4-family unit. So this will bring some justice, allow them to utilize the property and bring some probably happiness and well-being of the family unit.
Okay, Mr. Donlin?
Yeah, I think all the points are valid, and specifically to the surrounding properties not being diminished with the obscureness of the lot running up in behind, and the general character of the neighborhood in the smaller cottage style, if you will. And it's not like an egregious reach on sizing. He's not trying to, chew on a 6,000 square foot house in there or anything. So I agree with what else has been said.
All right, very good. Mr. Corbett, you want to say?
Yeah, I think it's a simple ask. I don't think it's egregious as far as the sizing. It's tight, but all these lots are. There's not really anything you can do. As we've had a lot of these come before us, kind of along Beaver Lake, one of the things I've been very sensitive to, even though we've passed a lot, is that when we get rid of those camp houses, that you kind of lose the culture that was around it. That was part of my question. I think it is really cool that there's still, it's still the ticket building there, and that it's been built around and kind of grown with it, and now just to continue developing that. I think it's a really nice thing for Derry. And then, no offense, but you look around, and even just on the abutters list, Charlestown, I see a Maine, it's nice keeping it also as a Derry resident, year-round as well. So
Sure.
I think it's a good proposal.
Yeah, I like the summation, and likewise with Mr. Obimba's comments. You look at the lot, and following the staff report, these lots were created almost back when Chief Cheat Shinito was around. So no zoning was in the place at that time. So that being said, I think that the hardship has been proven, which I think capitalizes all 5 of the criteria. That being said, we would look at structuring the motions, and as usual, as town and state permits and inspections apply, as they do in most cases. But are there any other conditions the board wishes to add to this motion? Seeing no gestures there, that being the case.
Before I can't find where I put it. Does it have the shoreline permit listed in there? Do we need to have that listed from Bob's notes?
We would consider that
it's
under the
state
state permits,
State
correct?
permits,
Mr. Obimba was speaking to that. Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Corbett?
Nope, just
All
an
right,
example
that
when the
being
board's not
case-
listening.
Let's get us a motion out of deliberation if we could.
Make that motion.
Mr. Corbett makes the motion. I have a second,
Second.
please. Mr. Donlin has a second. All in favor of coming out of deliberation, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Hearing none. Mr. Donlin, you have a motion to read.
Yes, sir. I make a motion on case number 23, Tech 128, Ryan M. Thomas and Jennifer L. Tripp, to grant a variance to the terms of Article 6, Section 165, Tech 46.c.4 of the Town of Derry zoning ordinance to allow the construction of a 20-foot by 34-foot, addition to be located less than 15 feet from the side property line and less than 35 feet from the front property line at 14 Jenny Dickey Hill Road, parcel ID 52032, zoned MDR, as presented with the following conditions. There is one, subject to obtaining all state and town permits and inspections. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Very good, thank you. The motion's been seconded and on the floor. We have, also, we need to read in the record finding of facts.
Finding of facts for case 23-128. The board also includes all facts found in the meeting minutes for the application, incorporates all the meeting minutes into its finding of facts and decisions. With that said, the board found that the applicants are requesting to construct a 2-story addition proposed roughly 3 feet from the side property line at its closest point. The proposal is for a 1-stall garage and 2 bedrooms above. This is not waterfront property, but a state shoreline permit will be required. And that concludes the finding of facts.
And I'd ask to amend and add to that the parcel is in the medium-density residential area.
Perfect.
Any other amendments board wishes to add to the finding of fact? Hearing none, seeing no gestures, all in favor of moving this, the motion for a vote, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Mr. Corbett, what say you?
I vote yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Donlin,
Yes.
Mr. Obimba,
I vote yes.
Mr. Dietzel,
Yes.
and Chair will make it unanimous, 5-0. So congratulations, Mr. Thomas, to you and your family.
Thank you.
Your application has been approved. Any party aggrieved by this, however, has 30 days to ask this board for reconsideration and review, and after that, recourse would go to Superior Court should this board not review that.
Okay, I do have one question. Do I have to wait the 30 days to at least start the building permit process? Or is that what you guys usually do, or?
Anybody has the ability, any butter has the ability to raise concern if they feel they've not been duly notified.
Okay,
So maybe you don't want to start ripping the shingles
just wait the
off.
30, okay, awesome.
Yeah, if you apply, you apply, but I would say don't, you might
Okay.
not want to break ground just in case you have to.
Oh, no, I won't do anything like that until, all right, awesome. Thank you guys very much, appreciate it.
Okay, have a good
Mr.
evening.
Thomas.
Thank you.
We're going to give those to Ginny. and you're okay. All right, next case up is Scott Boudreau, and he is representing the owners of Martin, oh boy, Takierkowski and Leanna Newcomb. I think I beat you up the last time in the same way, didn't I?
Yeah, everyone does. It's all right.
Welcome, and I think you are familiar with our protocol, so please proceed.
Okay, my name is Scott Boudreau, land surveyor from Boudreau Land Surveying. I've prepared the plan you see here. For Martin and Liana Paszczykowski.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, do you just want to clarify that we are sitting
Oh,
in?
no, here, I do that for both cases. You guys.
I didn't hear that. I apologize. I just wanted to make it clear.
Very good.
Okay, thank
are
you, Mr.
sitting.
Chair.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Presenting a project for Martin and Liana Paszczykowski, 75 Fordway Extension in Derry. And also Lot 9, and, sorry, Tax Map 21 Lot 9 and Tax Map 21 Lot 10. Okay, the 5 criteria. The variance will not be contrary to public interest because the proposed lot sizes match the character of the surrounding lots in the vicinity. The proposed lot line adjustment makes Lot 10 more nearly conforming to the minimum lot size. 2, the spirit of the ordinance is observed because the lot line adjustment is placing the lot line where both parties feel it should be, and the additional house lot will provide additional income for the owners. 3, substantial justice is done because the owner of Lot 10 will now own the property she has been maintaining. The owners of Lot 9 will be able to sell an additional lot. 4, the values of surrounding properties are not diminished because proposed buildings will meet the required yard depths. The proposed lot will match the character of the abutting lot on Fordway Extension. And 5, literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship. The proposed lot will be the same size as the abutting lot on Fordway Extension and would be a source of additional income for the current owners if passed. The proposed use is a reasonable one because the proposed subdivision will create one conforming lot with the existing dwelling and create an additional lot similar in size to the abutting lot. The proposed lot line adjustment will make Lot 10 more conforming.
Is that it?
Yep.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Mr. Corbett?
Not yet.
Okay. Mr. Obimba?
I am still reading. Criteria number 5 here on the literal enforcement of this ordinance. Trying to wrestle with the response here, where, if we enforce this and we don't grant this request or relief, you're mentioning that you'll sell the land and make additional income, trying to see how that, comes across as a hardship if we were to enforce this this zoning ordinance here. Can you
Well-
please clarify just a little bit on that point?
I mean, just not being able to sell that land that we're not really using would make us not be able to get anything for that land, and we could use the money right now.
Okay, that was just, that's much clearer. And
So, to Mr. Obimba's question, let me just see if I can kind of rephrase it with a little more veteran spin to it, correct? I think we're going to hardship, and I think you have a parcel here that's oversized, outdated as far as, what it was back in 1900 and whatever. So I think Mr. Obimba's looking for you to define the hardship here and what exactly that means in this case. I think it can roll back not to lead you, but to the substantial justice and the public benefit. Care to elaborate to that, either of you?
Yeah, I believe that it's going to provide additional housing in the character of the neighborhood already with those lots that are surrounding it. Most of those lots were created in the 60s, about half an acre, a little less than half an acre. So it really matches that lot right next to it on Fordway Extension, practically the same dimensions. So it is providing additional housing, and it will provide additional income to help maintain the current lot where the buildings currently exist.
Is it safe to say that the hardship, in your view, might be that you have an oversized lot that isn't being fully purposed, and therefore you can't use it for anything else, and somebody else might benefit from it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. How'd that go, Mr. Bimba?
I think that's well,
All right,
it's
very
much
good.
better.
Anything else? Mr. Obimba?
I'm all set.
Okay, Mr. Donlin?
My initial question was going to be about the unnecessary hardship as well, but thank you for your eloquent explanation.
Well, thank you. And it's for the benefit of the board, more so, and working somebody who's newer to the process versus trying to lead to the benefit of the applicant. So anybody is welcome to, differ from what I expressed, but I think it helps round out what Mr. Obimba's points were. Mr. Dietzel?
All set, thank
All
you.
set. Mr. Corbett?
Yeah, now that I'm looking at everything, I'm starting to confuse myself a little bit, so I do apologize if this was discussed. Looking at the design, I remember from the previous one, the way it was going down, which might be what's confusing me. So lot 9-1 along the Fordway Extension, I assume that the entrance in and out will be on Fordway Extension. My second part of that question, which might be my larger one, is this parcel A area. What is that designed for at this time? Or is that, it looks like it's almost its own property now. What are we trying to do with that?
That parcel A is currently owned by Lot 9, the Pashakowskis. That's the portion of land they will be conveying to Lot 9. Oh, I have that labeled wrong, I
Below
think.
it, yeah.
Lot 10,
The lot on Dairy Field?
yes.
Okay.
We would be adjusting the boundary line in order to help our neighbor behind us, because part of where she has her yard is actually on our land. So we were willing to adjust the boundary line for her to give her more land.
And she has agreed to purchase that extra piece of land?
Yes.
Do you guys have a purchase agreement or some sort for the record?
Nothing official yet, just emails, because we were waiting to see how tonight went.
Okay.
And then might be more of a curiosity than anything for this, but I think kind of when this, I don't want to put words in your mouth, when the survey was done, it seemed to uncover just a lot of abutting properties that ended up on your land. The fire pit and the swing set, has there been any discussion about that? Is that gonna remain on your side? Is that,
That also kind of depends on how tonight goes. If it doesn't get approved, we'd probably just let them keep it there, but we're hoping it will get approved, and they have plenty of land to be able to move it. Their lot is very deep. If you look there behind their house, it's very deep. There's plenty of other spots for them to be able to move it to. It shouldn't be a problem. It's not like a structure that's, I mean, it's just a swing set. Yeah, it's easy to move.
not my purview, just curiosity?
Yeah, yeah.
More than anything.
All right, very good. That round out the questions. Mr. Mackey, care to give us your rendition on this?
Just as the board might recall, this property was before them, I think back in early August, when they were looking for 3 lots. And at that time, the owners of 2 Derry Field had come in and expressed concern because they did have a number of items onto this particular property. So that part of that issue is being addressed by this plan, though that part of it technically doesn't need a variance because the lot that's remaining is still going to be a conforming lot, and they're making the other lot more conforming, so that part of it really doesn't need a variance. Obviously, being the MDR zoning district with 1 acre and 125 feet of frontage requirement, the new lot that they'll create out on Fordway is really why they're here, and that would require the variance. Other than that, I think there does appear to be town water and town sewer will be available for this lot, so you're not worrying about a septic system. And obviously, were this to be approved by the board, both the lot line adjustment and the subdivision would require planning board approval.
Okay. So they would not come back to us for the lot line adjustment?
No.
Okay, very good. All right, anybody have any follow-up with Mr. Mackey? Seeing no gestures there, all right, very good. Folks have anything to follow up on before we call to public?
No, I mean, I just want to draw attention to the fact that, you know, the new lot that we're trying to create is almost identical to the one next to it and larger than the 2 behind it. And that we are directly across the street from a mobile home park, which is obviously much more populated.
Denser,
Yes,
correct, okay.
yeah.
Got it. All right, that being said, let's make a call to public. This call would be both for anybody who wished to speak in favor of and opposed to this application, an opportunity for you, if you are remote, to be able to call in and have your thoughts heard on this matter. At this point, we'll make a call to the public. Anybody wish to speak in support of this application, this would be your time to say so. And Mr. Corbett will introduce some phone numbers if you're remote.
Yep, anybody at home who wishes to dial in, you're going to dial 646-558-8656. Your meeting ID is 323-909-140, and you'll press *9 to raise your hand. If you're having any technical issues, you'll dial 603-845-5585, and someone will help you.
Very good, thank you, Mr. Corbett. So that call was made to public. Anybody wish to speak in favor? Anybody out there, Mr. Preventure?
Seeing none rise.
Very good, thank you very much. And no one in this crowded room here has risen either, so we'll make a call to anybody who would be opposed to this application. This would be your opportunity to come forward and be heard as well.
Looks like we've got one.
Oh, there's a proposal.
So, Mr. Boudreau and Ms. Newcomb, I'll have you step back, and this individual would like to speak.
Good evening. My name is Glenn Beauregard. I live at 4 Derryfield Road. I am the resident that is behind the proposed lot that they want to subdivide. I just have a statement that I'd like to read. I read this the last time we were here, and my opinion is that the owner has current reasonable use for the existing lot. By granting the variance request, it will change the existing conforming lot into multiple non-conforming lots, or at least one more conforming lot, unconforming lot. As the current lot is conforming, there is no hardship to be relieved. Granting the hardship would place an undue burden on the surrounding families by increasing service and traffic requirements in a long-established neighborhood. It could also reduce property values by creating a pocket of residential lots or structures that would aesthetically alter the character of the neighborhood. Thank you.
All right, Just hang on just a second. Mr. Mackey, do you remember what the zoning would have been on this way back in 1960?
I'm thinking it was probably be general residential
Okay.
back at that time.
Which would have meant that this lot could have been subdivided then and made into whatever it's being applied for at this time. And essentially, it's almost a taking in some sense, because you own a piece of land. You never know when or where zoning is going to change and when those alternatives may come about in a community following updated master plans, so on and so forth. So that's kind of where I see this developing, and you're welcome to speak back to that, Mr. Beauregard, if you have anything to say on it.
No, I understand, and, you know, it's just, there is a lot there, and they're gonna chop it up into 3 pieces, and I'm just giving you my opinion as a neighbor that I don't want to see that done.
All right. What they're proposing is 1 additional house lot.
I understand.
Okay, very good. Any questions from the board for Mr. Beauregard? Seeing none, very good, thank you very much. All right, that being said, anybody else out there, Mr. Provencher, that might be remote, wish to speak?
Seeing none rise, Mr.
All right, very good, thank you very much. That being said, Mr. Boudreau and Ms. Newcomb, you're both welcome to come back up and rebut the statement from the abutter if you wish, or, and close up with anything else before we go into deliberation.
I mean, I guess the only thing I would really address is that I don't really think it's gonna increase traffic to the area. Just having 1 single-family home there is not gonna significantly increase any traffic to the area.
Okay, all right. Anybody have any disposition to that? Okay, Mr. Boudreau, you all set?
Yeah, it is convenient that the sewer and water are located in Fordway Extension already too. That's a positive for this lot.
Yeah, big difference from 1960, right?
Yeah, and it is already a very flat, level lot. It would be very easy to make it buildable.
Okay, very good. So you folks are all set then? All right, very good. That being said, we can take a motion to go into deliberation if anybody wishes to lead us in that direction.
I'll make that motion.
Do
Or
you want
Mike.
to flip a coin for it?
I heard Jim more than I heard Mike, but I saw them both go for it.
All right.
There you
very
go,
good.
I'll second it.
Okay, good enough. Mr. Dietzel has the motion, Mr. Donlin has the second.
Thank you,
all in-
Mr. Donlin.
All in favor of the motion for deliberation, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. We are in deliberation. Anybody wish to lead off with some thoughts, perhaps some contrast from the
I
board?
have some thoughts.
Mr. Dietzel.
I actually lived on Derryfield Road for 13 years, and there's been a lot of change in the neighborhood. There's that like industrial complex down on Kendall Pond Road, and they expanded I-93 and built that big wall. Change is always going to happen, and we might not like it, or we might. So I'm saying the variance will not be contrary to the public interest because change happens. It's not contrary to the public interest if we add more housing necessarily. The spirit of the ordinance is observed because I think 1 more single-use family will not be detrimental to the public good. And then the hardship, I always fall back on if the owners aren't allowed to maximize the use of their property within the other criteria, it's creating a hardship. So based on the 5 criteria, I'm just kind of, leaning toward allowing this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very good, thank you. Anybody want to speak to that, address it, Mr. Donlin? or your own thoughts?
I mean, I will agree on the spirit of the ordinance is observed strictly based on the lot sizes of the vast majority of the properties within a stone's throw of this property.
Okay,
And I'm still kind of muddling my thoughts.
okay, Mr. Obimba?
I agree with what's been said. In addition to the point of zoning regulations changing based on master plans and needs, we spoke initially of the point of having an oversized lot earlier to kind of lead to the hardship of you have something you can barely use for anything else. If the subdivision here creates a lot that is in line with most of this, I don't think it's an excessive request or use of the land. Like we said, we don't know what the future holds. They might change that, and then this becomes the less of the two evils, because if there's need for housing and the city changes the ordinances to allow even more units to be built, I think having a single family unit in this subdivided lot becomes less of two evils of those requests. So that's where I'm kind of leaning.
Okay, very good. Mr. Corbett?
I don't necessarily see the absolute need for the subdivision. However, I see it as a bit of a push and a pull, and I see it as an opportunity to clean up a lot that I do think improves it. I think the area between lot 9 and lot 10 down below, over time would just get messier, especially the amount of, just listen to that butter originally, the amount of space that was being maintained just over, a miscommunication or a misunderstanding. It's a good opportunity to clean that up. I think help with that situation. Side to the right, you look at the space, it's almost even for me. So I'm not opposed to it. It's still some working. I don't love it, but I like it a lot better than the last one. And I think it does help to clean up, a couple of other properties. It helps make another one more conforming. It still leaves us with a conforming lot. Yes, we now have one that's non-conforming, but much better than the previous proposal.
Yeah, so I'll follow up and indicate, we look at the excessive and reasonable return, and we see a balance here that, if somebody had still lived there originally and they were looking at, all of a sudden somebody said, well, we're proposing changes in the zoning ordinances that are going to restrict your use later on, that person may have acted on it. Not everybody's in tune to the progressions of a community through its ordinances and whatnot, and sometimes they get caught off guard. But likewise, when I see someone who has been on the parcel for a bit and then they realize that they have this overabundance of land that's not being purposed to its full potential, in looking at the hardship, the guidelines, the shape of the land participates towards some of this, or primarily is participating towards this. I think sometimes that relief can be sought and granted. So that's kind of how I'm at, primarily focusing on the hardship aspect that's been proposed or spoken to, and that's where I see this having justice in this application. And likewise, giving a balance back to the neighbor, which is outside of this board's purview, but appreciated for the applicant to be working through that with the abutter, I think shows some fairness to it as well. That being said, I think I've heard from everybody on this matter, so let's structure the motion. We have subject to obtaining all state and town permits and inspections, but as Mr. Mackey has indicated, this parcel will have to go through planning board for subdivision, and lot line adjustment will occur at that time. Are there any other conditions that the members of this board would like to see other than those two conditions? Seeing no gestures there, I think we've structured the motion, so therefore we can take a motion, come out of deliberation.
I'll make the motion to come out of deliberation.
Mr. Obimba makes the motion. I need a second, please.
I'll second.
Mr. Dietzel seconds to come out of deliberation. Therefore, Mr. Donlin, you have a motion to read.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I make a motion on case number 23, Tech 129, Scott D. Boudreau, owner, Martin P. Pachakowski, and Leanna Newcomb, to grant a variance to the terms of Article 6, Section 165, Tech 46.c.1a, C2, and C3 of the Town of Derry zoning ordinance to allow the property to be subdivided into 2 lots, with the new lot proposed to contain .53 acres and 100 feet of street frontage and lot width, where a minimum of 1 acre and 125 feet of frontage and lot width are required at 75 Fordway Extension, parcel ID 21009, zoned medium-density residential, MDR, as presented with the following conditions. There are 2, subject to obtaining all state and town permits and inspections, and number 2, subject to planning board approval. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Obimba seconds that motion, puts it on the floor, leaving room for our finding of fact. Mr. Corbett?
Yep, finding of fact for case 23-129. Board will also include all facts found in the meeting minutes for this application. We'll incorporate all meeting minutes into the finding facts and decisions. With that said, the board found that the applicants are requesting a variance to allow the property to be subdivided into 2 lots. The proposal is also to do a lot line adjustment between parcels 21009 and 2010 to address encroachments. The legacy lot is conforming. The new lot will contain .53 acre and 100 feet of frontage, where 1 acre and 125 feet are required. The property is zoned in the MDR area, and planning board approval will also be required.
Very good. Any amendments wished from any of the board? Nope, seeing none there. The finding of fact has been read. All in favor of moving the motion, Mr. Donlin read for a vote, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Mr. Dietzel?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Corbett?
Yes.
Mr. Obimba?
Yes.
And Mr. Donlin?
Yes.
Very good, and the chair will make that unanimous as well. So your application has been approved by a vote of 5-0. Congratulations. Anybody aggrieved by this decision has 30 days to ask this board for reconsideration. After that, recourse would be to Superior Court.
Thank you very much.
All right, very good.
Yep,
Have a
thank
good
you.
evening.
Thank you. Thank you, Fred.
All right, so the board has no correspondence or other business before it at this time, other than the approval of minutes. So we have minutes from September 21st, 2023. Does anybody have any changes or approval or alterations to that, or they wish to move that as presented?
So nothing required to change. I'm okay with moving to approve as presented.
Very good. Motion made by Mr. Corbett. Do I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Very good. Mr. Dietzel has a second on that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no opposition to that, those minutes are approved. Yeah. Other than that, we have nothing else. Anything in the cooker?
For the next meeting, which is the 19th, we do have 2 cases and a request for a variance extension.
Okay. Well, very good. So we'll see everybody back here in 2 weeks, and the year's ticking by, isn't it? All right. Very good. Seems like just yesterday there was a snowstorm.
It's not saying that anytime soon.
All right. Take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay.